مرحبا بك في قناتي. فيديو اليوم عن مملكة عربية سعودية. Please like. يلا بسرعة. شكرا.
Please subscribe to ZS Royal for more interesting contents.
Welcome back again. It's your guy ZS Royal. Yeah. Right, everyone. I look very Saudi. Yeah, this is Saudi traditional clothes. Most of the time, people think this is a, Muslim clothes. This is a Saudi Arabia traditional clothes. Well, what we are going to react today is basically based on 15 unusual things in Saudi Arabia. So, fasten your seatbelt tight and just enjoy this video.
Join us as we explore 15 unusual things you'll only find in this unique kingdom. Number 15, no magic allowed. In Saudi Arabia, magic is a big no-no. Think about magic tricks, spells, fortune-telling, even reading about wizards and witches. All of these are not allowed. The country takes religion very seriously. To them, magic and sorcery are like telling lies about their faith. They don't just say, "No magic, please." They have a special team for this called the Committee for the Promotion of Virtue and the Prevention of Vice, or CPVPV. This team works like magic detectives and teachers. They explain why magic is bad, find people who do magic, and take away their magic items. Since 2009, the CPVPV has been searching for magic users. They have found many people involved in magic activities. Some were workers from other countries, accused of using magic to harm others. Some were from Saudi Arabia and had magic books, videos, or even claimed they could fly or heal people with special powers. Remember Harry Potter and his magical world? In Saudi Arabia, Harry and his friends are not welcome. The CPVPV believes stories like these can confuse young minds. They have taken away and destroyed many Harry Potter books, toys, and other magical things. Number 14, water costs more than oil. Would you believe that in Saudi Arabia, water is more expensive than oil? Yes, it's true. This land of huge deserts and very high temperatures has a big problem: not enough water. It's not just about having a small supply, but also how much it costs. Water is so scarce and precious that it ends up costing more than the oil they're famous for. In 2019, the World Bank showed surprising numbers. A cubic meter of water in Saudi Arabia costs 0.09 USD, while a liter of oil was only 0.06 USD. If you do the math, water is about 1.5 times pricier than oil there. Saudi Arabia, surrounded by sand for miles, has only 89.5 cubic meters of water per person each year. Compare that to the global average of 6,000 cubic meters, and you can see why it's a big deal. How do they get their water? Mainly from two sources, underground and the sea. Most people use groundwater, but it's running out fast. The other half comes from a tricky process that removes salt from seawater. But cleaning seawater is expensive and uses a lot of energy. And guess where that energy comes from? Oil, about 15% of it. Many things are increasing the demand for water. There are more people, more cities, more factories, and farms that need water to grow food. In 2020, there were 35 million people living there, and by 2050, they expect 45 million. Farming uses up the biggest share of water, about 80% of it. That's a lot of water for something that only adds 2% to Saudi Arabia's income. So what's the plan to fix this problem? Saudi Arabia is trying many things. They're charging more for water, reducing subsidies, and encouraging people to use less. There's even a special program called Qatra that aims to help people cut water use by 43% by 2030. Number 13, no work during prayer times. In Saudi Arabia, the day has a special rhythm. It's not about work schedules. It's about the 5 daily prayer times. It's like the whole country hits a pause button and everything stops. From big shops and city centers to small market stalls, everything closes for prayer. How do they know when to pray? It's all about the sun's position. They use a method called al-Qura, their special way to calculate prayer times. Imagine you're in the middle of buying a gift or enjoying a meal at a restaurant. Suddenly it's prayer time. Everything stops. shops close, kitchens go quiet, and people go to pray. This break lasts about 15 to 20 minutes, just enough time for prayers. For visitors, it might be surprising, but for locals, it's an important part of life. It's a short break to reconnect with their faith, to breathe, and to step away from the busy day. It's not about making things hard. It's about giving everyone a chance to pray without distractions. Number 12, limited access to birth control. Saudi Arabia has many traditions. One topic that gets a lot of attention is birth control. You might wonder, can you get regular birth control items in Saudi Arabia? The answer is both yes and no. Things like birth control pills, condoms, and devices called IUDs are mostly available. But the tricky part is where and how easily you can get them. Also, the morning after pill is not allowed in Saudi Arabia. If you're not married, getting these birth control items can be difficult. Why? Because being intimate before marriage is a big no-no in Saudi Arabia. Some stores might even ask if you're married before selling anything. Your nationality might also affect how you're treated at the pharmacy. If you're an expatriate living in Saudi Arabia, some people might be more relaxed with you. Number 11, gambling is forbidden. In Saudi Arabia, gambling is considered a big sin. No casinos, no lotteries, not even small bets on sports games are allowed. If you're caught, you can face heavy fines, jail time, or even worse. But some people have found secret ways to gamble. They use tools called VPNs on their computers. It's like a secret path to visit banned websites without being noticed. Using VPNs, they can play on online gambling sites from home. There's also something with horse races. A club in Riyadh holds raffles around horse races. But it's not exactly gambling because people don't bet money. They just guess which horse will win and fill out a form. If they guess right, they win a prize. Some people love gambling so much that they travel to other countries like Lebanon, Egypt, or Morocco, where casinos are legal. But traveling just to gamble can be expensive and complicated. So gambling in Saudi Arabia is like trying to sneak candy into a movie theater. Some people find ways to do it, but it's always risky. They might enjoy the thrill, but they have to be very careful. In Saudi Arabia, when it comes to gambling, the stakes are high. Number 10, public displays of affection are not allowed. You've probably heard of PDA, public displays of affection, like holding hands, hugging, or a quick kiss on the cheek. In many places it's normal, but in Saudi Arabia it's a different story. Being a devout Muslim country, any kind of PDA is a big no-no. They follow strict Islamic law called Sharia, and showing affection in public is like breaking a major rule. If you're caught, you could face serious punishments like heavy fines or worse. In September 2019, Saudi Arabia decided to make these rules clearer. They wanted to attract more tourists and show them their country's wonders. So they introduced the Public Decency Code. Guess what was on the list? Yes, PDA. The code lists 19 things you shouldn't do in public. If you break one, you might have to pay a fine. For getting too cozy in public, the fine can be up to 3,000 reals, which is about $800. But it's not just about PDA. The code also says don't litter, don't cut in line, don't take photos of strangers, don't play loud music during prayer times, and dress appropriately. It's basically a guide on how to behave decently in public places in Saudi Arabia. Who enforces these rules? The Ministry of Interior and the General Authority for Tourism and National Heritage keep an eye on things. Other agencies and private security teams also watch out. Whether you're in a mall, cafe, park, beach, or just walking down the street, you need to follow the rules. Number 9, no movie theaters until recently. Imagine living in a place where you can't go to the cinema to watch the latest movie. Sounds strange, right? But in Saudi Arabia, that was the case for a long time. Since the 1980s, movie theaters were closed down. Some people believe movies were bad influences, bringing unwanted behaviors and too much Western culture. So for 35 years, there were no cinemas. People didn't stop watching movies, though. They found ways to watch films at home or use satellite dishes. If they really wanted the cinema experience, they traveled to nearby countries like Bahrain or Kuwait. But in 2017, things changed. The government decided to bring movies back as part of a plan called Vision 2030. They wanted to modernize the country and offer more entertainment options. The first movie shown in 2018 was Black Panther, a superhero film. Since then, over 500 movie screens have opened, and people are enjoying going to the cinema again. By 2030, they hope to have 2,000 screens and generate $1 billion from movie tickets. Saudi Arabia also wants to promote its own films, hosting festivals and inviting international filmmakers. Bringing back cinemas hasn't been easy. Some people are not happy with certain movie content or think cinemas don't fit their culture. Building the industry from scratch is challenging, and they also have to compete with streaming services like Netflix. Number 8, separate celebrations at weddings. Have you ever been to a party where boys and girls are in separate areas? In Saudi Arabia, that's how weddings are celebrated. Instead of the bride and groom celebrating together with all their guests, they have separate sections, one for men and one for women. Here's how it works. The bride enjoys a beautiful space filled with flowers, candles, and decorations. She wears a stunning outfit called an abaya, a long and elegant cloak. She might also cover her face with a niqab or her hair with a hijab. She can even change her outfit several times during the night. Meanwhile, the groom and his friends have their own celebration. The groom wears a thobe, a long white robe, along with a fancy cloak and perhaps a colorful headscarf called a shamak. They feast on delicious food like juicy lamb, rice, sweet dates, and rich coffee. The groom does make a special visit to the bride's side, usually with his father. They enter with music and a band. The bride and groom exchange rings and cut the wedding cake together. Why have separate parties? It's about tradition and respecting cultural beliefs. In Saudi Arabia, they prefer to keep men and women apart if they aren't married or closely related. This way, everyone feels comfortable and there's no misunderstanding. Both sides get to have fun in their own way, dancing, chatting, and enjoying the celebration without worries. Number 7, huge camel market. When you think of camels, you might imagine them wandering in the desert. But in Saudi Arabia, camels are part of a big business and culture. Camels are valued for many things: their meat, milk, wool, and leather. Owning a prized camel is like having a luxury car. It shows wealth and status. In Riyadh, the capital city, there's the world's largest camel market. It's so big that it covers 2 square miles. It's like a camel supermarket where over 100 camels find new owners every day. The market opens early, from 6 a.m. until lunchtime. The place is lively with people bargaining, shouting, and laughing. Camels are organized into groups based on age, gender, color, breed, and quality. Some camels are so special they can cost up to $2,667. But it's not just about buying and selling. The market is like a fair where you can see local traders showcasing their camels, taking them for rides, or even singing to them. Number 6, the religious police. In Saudi Arabia, there's a unique group called the Mutawin, also known as the religious police. Their job is to make sure everyone follows Islamic rules. They've been around since 1940 but became more influential in the 1980s when the country wanted to emphasize religious values. The Mutawin focus on something called hisbah, which means promoting good and preventing bad according to Islamic teachings. They monitor things like how people dress, whether men and women are mixing in public, and if people attend prayers. If someone breaks the rules, the Mutawin can arrest them and take them to the authorities. The group is quite large, with about 3,500 to 4,000 officers, plus thousands of volunteers and support staff. Their leader is a high-ranking official who reports directly to the king. Not everyone agrees with the Mutawin's methods. Some people think they are too strict, so the government has introduced rules to limit their powers. Now, they can't chase people or ask too many questions without permission. The Mutawin are influenced by Wahhabism, a strict form of Islam that started in the 1800s in Saudi Arabia. They believe in following Islamic teachings very closely and consider their interpretation the correct one. Other countries like Iran, Sudan, and Indonesia have similar groups aiming to keep their societies aligned with their religious beliefs. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. In a photograph from Saudi Arabia, women are confidently standing in their undergarments but still wearing their hijabs. Has there been a fashion revolution in this traditionally conservative land? Could this be a secret underground trend we've been unaware of? Or maybe it's an artistic statement pushing the boundaries of cultural norms. What's the backstory? Is this a protest, a statement, or just a wild fashion party? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Now on to the next topic, number 5, no rivers at all. Here's something surprising. Saudi Arabia is a huge country, but it doesn't have a single river. Yes, no rivers at all. So where do they get their water from? When it does rain, which isn't often, the water collects behind large structures called dams. These dams act like giant banks storing water. They've built 522 dams to catch and save as much rainwater as possible. The main source of water is underground. Most of their water comes from deep beneath the earth. Some of this underground water is replenished by rain, but some of it is ancient and doesn't refill. This old water is being used up quickly, especially for farming, which is causing problems. They also turn seawater into drinking water through a process called desalination. Saudi Arabia is a world leader in this, but it requires a lot of energy and isn't very environmentally friendly. Lastly, they recycle used water. They clean it and reuse it for things like watering plants or cooling systems. In 2019, they reused most of the 2.6 billion cubic meters of water they treated. Number 4, women can now drive. Saudi Arabia has strong traditions guided by the ruling Al Saud family since 1932 and the strict form of Islam called Wahhabism. For a long time, women were not allowed to drive cars, motorcycles, or even bicycles. This wasn't written in law, but was enforced by religious leaders who believed it could cause social problems. Women who tried to drive faced arrest, fines, or even jail time. Many women campaigned for the right to drive. They signed petitions, held peaceful protests, made videos, and used social media to voice their concerns. The authorities often arrested these activists and sometimes spread false stories about them. In 2017, the king announced that women would be allowed to drive starting in June 2018. This was a big deal and part of efforts to modernize the country led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. However, just before the ban was lifted, some female activists were arrested. When the day finally came, it was a celebration. Women with driving licenses from other countries got their Saudi licenses and started driving. People cheered and men gave flowers to female drivers. Still, not everyone was happy with the change, and some believed women should not drive. Number 3, amputee soccer team. Saudi Arabia has an inspiring soccer team where every player has lost a limb. In 1996, some determined men who had lost arms or legs wanted to continue playing the game they loved. They formed a soccer team and didn't just play, they excelled. They have competed in international tournaments like the Amputee Football World Cup, the Asian Cup, and the GF Cup. They won a silver medal in Uzbekistan in 2007, a bronze medal in Mexico in 2018, and a gold medal in Bahrain in 2019. They've played friendly matches against teams from Germany, Brazil, and Turkey. But it's not just about sports. The team wants to show others with disabilities that they can achieve great things. They inspire young people who have lost limbs to pursue their dreams. They also raise awareness about the challenges they face and how society can support them. The team receives support from national sports organizations and international groups like the Red Cross. Number 2, Saudization, prioritizing local workers. Every country wants its citizens to have more job opportunities. In Saudi Arabia, this effort is called Saudization. The goal is to provide more jobs for Saudi nationals and rely less on foreign workers. Foreign workers need to pay fees to continue working in the country, and certain jobs are reserved exclusively for Saudis. Why did Saudi Arabia start this program? They wanted to reduce unemployment among Saudis, which was around 13% in 2020. They also aim to diversify their economy beyond oil. Their Vision 2030 plan includes making Saudi Arabia a globally recognized hub for various industries. Number 1, Valentine's Day is not celebrated. While many people around the world celebrate Valentine's Day with gifts and chocolates, in Saudi Arabia, it's not allowed. Many Saudis believe Valentine's Day has Christian roots and is linked to a saint who performs secret marriages. They also think celebrating it might encourage dating outside of marriage, which is forbidden. The religious police are vigilant during Valentine's Day. They look for red roses, chocolates, and heart-shaped items. If someone is caught selling or buying these, They could face fines, jail time, or even corporal punishment. But people find ways around the ban. Some shopkeepers wrap Valentine's gifts in other colors or use code words. There's a secret market where Valentine's items are sold at high prices because they're hard to find. Others order gifts online or travel to nearby countries to buy them. If you're a foreign resident in Saudi Arabia, you can celebrate Valentine's Day privately at home. The key is to keep it low-key and not draw public attention or share photos online.
Right? And back in the days, I know I have been in Saudi Arabia. I've lived in Saudi Arabia for 3 years. So I've explored many places. I was living in Jeddah. I've gone to Mecca. I've gone to Medina. I've gone to Taif. I've gone to many places in Saudi Arabia. So I basically understood Saudi Arabia. When I was there, Saudi Arabia, female cannot drive. Women can drive. But now, things have changed. Women can drive. Hey! Yes, women can drive. And enjoy themselves by driving and take their families as usual. So, we would like to end up this video, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Stay tuned and have a wonderful day.